This is my favorite YouTube.
Fuck this, not recording anymore.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Saladino.
We shall never find that lovely land of might have been. I can never be your king, nor you can be my queen.
When you say that the gaming community ruined this game's success, I mean, you know, I don't think that's entirely fair, but I think there is a lot of truth to it.
I suppose you could say that the gaming community ruined the success of Dragon Age: The Veiled God by not buying the game. But of course, Jaffe and whoever it was that asked the question, I say asked, but it was some Dragon Age shill who's just mad at the chuds for even talking about something that they don't like in games. But they're saying that by criticizing, complaining, clowning the game, speaking out against all the ways the devs ruined Dragon Age, that gamers ruined the success of the game by not just shutting up and being a consumer.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
If you're EA, you've got to kind of prepare for the market winds that you're sailing into and all that. And so they should have been prepared to counter, and they weren't.
EA did counter. They did have a plan. What is he talking about? Their plan was to make sure to cherry pick who would get a review code, making sure that anyone that had even the slightest hint of doubt or a wait-and-see attitude didn't get to review the game before release. They also made sure that their army of shills in the gaming press and their shills on social media attacked anyone who didn't go along with this gender necromancy, stunning and brave bullshit, got called a bigot of some kind. Or their new favorite epithet, grifter.
Really, at this point, all that gaming community that you're talking about has done is they've made it so they've actually made games worse, which is what they say they're trying to not do, because they have the charismatic grifters that make the videos that for whatever reason people respond to, because they have the charismatic grifters that make the videos that for whatever reason people respond to.
They respond to it because it's a community of gamers, like you idiots say. To them, a bunch of gamers, mostly men, getting together to discuss gaming is a threat. Their heads are so far up their asses. They're such a hive mind that they expect everybody to be a hive mind. And again, they look at men getting together to talk about things that they love, and it's a threat. It's a threat to their ideology, which is the only thing they care about in games these days, and most entertainment media these days. Probably all, really, but this woke DEI era of gaming has brought in so many people who hate games and hate gamers and hate the fact that people, especially men, get into hobbies to get away from all the bullshit of real life. But activists' whole point is to get in your face with whatever flavor of the month social issue they're grandstanding and virtue signaling about. All this uglification of women in gaming and all the LGBT shit is activism. Activism isn't about uplifting marginalized voices or letting trans women see themselves. It's about using those talking points to attack their political enemies. They know that using terms like transgender and non-binary in a grim, dark, medieval-style fantasy game sticks out like a sore thumb. But they want you to notice it. They want you to see it sticking out so that your comfortable, privileged life gets disrupted. It's the whole protesting in the middle of traffic thing. The whole interrupt the video game competition with your corny bullshit.
Because I would like to pay what this? What's going on?
So this whole narrative that it's really just charismatic grifters just telling people what to think is absurd. And grifter as the new epithet for anti-woke YouTubers is probably the one that makes the least sense. At least with bigot. You could say, well, you just hate DEI because you don't want to see black women in games. You don't want to see trans women in games. You're just a bigot. You don't want your lily white games being tainted with marginalized voices. At least that's one thing you can say to just sort of paint everybody, especially since their main enemy are straight white men. They could just paint all of them as just bigots who hate this stuff, and they're the enemy, they're the bad guys. They're the vocal minority, but they're not quiet and just accepting of this because they don't want to be overtaken and replaced. So that kind of makes sense. It's ridiculous, and people have done a great job over the years arguing against it. And I figured, because the way woke people and SJWs and cancel pigs act, that they would just ignore it and double or triple down like they always do. But they've added this grifter thing to it. And this is not really that new. They've been saying this for a while. People have now really glommed on to the idea that they're saying grifter now more because they know that the other terms, the bigot terms, the istinphobe terms don't work, and that people are now kind of wearing it as a badge of honor.
I want to see the receipt for that. Me defending somebody, because I'm sure they were saying more than just looks. I'm sure they were calling her homophobic. I'm sure they were saying that she's a bigot. I'm sure they're saying all this other fucked up shit. I was defending that.
How is that incorrect? You were mocking a trans woman incessantly and laughing in her face. I watched the clip.
Yeah, that's true. I did.
Okay, so how are you not anti-LGBTQ when you do something like that?
I am anti-LGBTQ.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, good.
Okay, Rich, so what now?
So now they've reduced everything to grifter. And the whole thing about grifter, the Grifter Paradox, I don't even know if it's really a paradox. It just sounds like the Andromeda strain to me or something. But this grifter thing is ridiculous because grifters are con men or con women. If you ever saw that movie Grifters, well, the grifters, Annette Bening, Angelica Houston, John Cusack. I always think of Annette Bening first because of her role in that movie and how she pays her rent at the beginning. But when I hear grifter, I always think either the grifters from Stephen Frears or Grifter from Wildcats. But anyway, so you're talking about a con man or somebody who's conning you. And people who get conned want to be conned because they want what you're selling them. So this idea that anti-woke YouTubers are grifters, you're saying that being anti-woke is just a grift for you, that these people like me, they're not really talking about me, of course, they talk about big channels, Endymion, Smash JT, Aurora Dark, Kyle, all these people, Hypnotic. They're saying, okay, you charismatic anti-woke grifters are just convincing people not to like stuff. But what? So anti-woke YouTubers don't believe what they're saying? They actually want ugly black women as the main protagonists on all sorts of games? Forget, it's not even, I don't want black women in games. It's, I don't want these uglified black women in games. I don't want these butch lesbians in games. But you're saying that anti-woke YouTubers are grifters. And so as a grifter, they really actually do want ugly women and trans women and all this gay shit taking over games. They want that. But they know it's popular to say that they don't want it. Because, they're rage baiting and they're doing this for clicks. But it's like, well, then you're saying that anti-woke is popular. I thought the chuds and the people who are anti-woke were just a vocal minority. Now all of a sudden, I keep saying this, we have the power to change a normie's mind and tell them, actually, you know what? Yeah, no. I don't like trans women as the protagonists of a video game. I don't think that AAA games in particular should be catered to the smallest, most so-called marginalized people and marginalized groups, because people don't come to games for this ideology. Like, it's one thing to just say, hey, we happen to have one of the characters in this game be trans or lesbian or an ugly black woman. We just happen to have these characters in amongst a bunch of other characters. But no, when you put this woke stuff in it, this DEI stuff, everything becomes about that. You make video games where you have an apocalypse situation and you have characters saying that they're actually, okay, a girl. You're saying a girl character is saying, now actually I'm a boy. She's trans in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Or you have pregnant women in an apocalypse environment as part of the military going out on patrols and going out in combat like an actual pregnant woman. And you're supposed to take that seriously. You're not supposed to go, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense. How does this make a strong woman that she's so stupid and that the society around her is so stupid that they would put this pregnant woman in the middle of a zombie apocalypse in a combat situation where, aren't you trying to repopulate the race? Like, if what Joel did in The Last of Us 2, and of course I'm talking about The Last of Us 2, how is it that what Joel did by not allowing Ellie's brain to be taken out and cut up and possibly make a cure, a vaccine or whatever, that would be in the control of a bunch of terrorists, how is that worse than sending out a pregnant woman in the middle of a combat zone when you know you have no cure, and you send her out in the middle of a combat zone, she's pregnant?
Why is a pregnant lady going out in combat?
Now, of course, you could say, well, Joel killed a bunch of people in order to stop them from operating on Ellie. But that's kind of my point, though. At this point, Joel is Ellie's dad. Ellie is his daughter. He's not, after everything they went through together, and remembering, obviously, the loss of his actual daughter, where men in uniform, men who were in power, killed her in front of him. He's now in pretty much a similar situation. And this time, he's not going to let that happen again. And my thing is, a parent. So this is a woman who's pregnant. She's about to have a child with somebody she supposedly loves. And she doesn't care about any of that. She's just going to go jump in the back of a truck and go on patrol. And immediately they get attacked. Like, there's no sense to it. And I mean, there's a carelessness and a thoughtlessness to the way cancel pigs act and the way they do things, where it's just they lack self-awareness and they think what they're doing is great. And they don't see how inhuman it is. The artist formerly known as your boy Zach always used to say, SJWs don't human very well. And that's the whole thing about this woke stuff. So you have somebody like Jaffe who's completely oblivious to a lot of this stuff. And it's alarming as you think after the kind of games he made and the kind of the insight you would think he would have and how the industry used to work versus the way it does now. He's saying that it's charismatic con men who are just convincing people that stupid, thoughtless, inhuman things like deliberately uglified women is something that you shouldn't want in games. So my thing is, it's not like being anti-woke is not this thing where you're slyly seducing poor, helpless, drugged, and cursed gamers into suddenly not wanting ugly women or butch lesbians or black Vikings or black samurais in a game or in any kind of geek entertainment or media. It's not like you going, I mean, sure, trans women are women. We all agree to that. Sure, it's better for MJ to be built like Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler. I personally find it stunning and brave to play as a black trans woman in a game where everyone, even the robot, has pronouns. But, and hear me out, what if we didn't?
Well, everyone knows Custer died at Little Bighorn. What this book presupposes is, maybe he didn't?
That's not what anti-woke YouTubers are doing. This is what anti-woke YouTubers are doing.
I love seeing strong females in lead roles, whether it is a game or a TV show or a movie, but what I don't like is when females are pushed into roles just to make a statement. So I have been live streaming Ghost of Tsushima here on the channel, and I have been playing it quite a lot off stream, and it is fantastic. It is just such a good game. But what makes it so good are the characters, and usually when a character story is really good, people don't demand that it be changed, but of course, because Jin is a male, this game just isn't good enough, because now people, including journalists, may I add, are asking Sucker Punch to make Ghost of Tsushima's sequel female focused. So the story should always come first and everything else should come second. They already have an amazing story here. If you already have an amazing story, you just don't dismantle it to push a narrative into it. In the end, a lot of journalists are saying that they think Ghost of Tsushima 2 should hand the reins over to a female, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that they have an amazing story going for them.
You just don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do this.
Right.
Not to get into the whole David Jaffe versus Varadark thing, I did a little community post about it where I basically said the reason why Jaffe went after Varadark harder than he did, say, Hypnotic or someone is because they see women as a threat too. So we talk about how cancel pigs, or I talk about how cancel pigs are threatened by men getting together, having hobbies. They immediately say if they're all getting together without women involved somehow, they're going to get radicalized to do something harmful to women. It's ridiculous. But really the point is they just want to break up men having things together because they find that men have power when they can share things with each other that has nothing to do with trying to cater to them or to please them or tied to whatever. But the thing is, so the reason why they go after attacking women like Varadark is because women have a lot of power too. And a lot of this stuff that society has sort of allowed to happen, particularly with the trans stuff and people legitimately and unironically acting like they can't define what a woman is. A lot of that is because women have allowed it. Boys and female sports. Boys just saying that they're women or girls. Being allowed into women's and girls' locker rooms and then beating these girls up if they say, no, you're not a girl, I don't want you here. And they watch them acting violent and being a harm to actual women. And they watch these so-called trans women or trans girls take spots, scholarships, prizes, all kinds of stuff and victory from actual girls. And it's because women are allowing it. And so every time you see one of these anti-woke women get attacked like crazy, it's always worse for the most part than it is with the men. And plus, the men don't treat it the same way, but they defend the women on their side who are actual bad actors. But when it comes to women who say, hey, I'm a woman, I don't have a problem with someone like trans existing, but don't change what a woman is to suit this weird ideology, which really doesn't have anything to do with trans women. It's activism and gender abolitionists who are doing this. It's like, don't make me a part of your political agenda. And then they immediately get attacked. So Jaffe, whether he realizes it or not, and I think half the stuff he does, he's literally oblivious. He's not a thoughtful person. And a lot of it is a knee-jerk reaction to the fact that he has a trans child, which I'm not getting into it. I'm not touching that. I don't care. But the thing is, before he had this spurg out where he attacked Varadark, I found this clip somewhere, and I was waiting for the right time to use it.
So I think really make sure you want to make games, and you should be able to design games. I always say, you should be able to have a coconut and a crayon and make something fun out of it. And, the excuses of, well, I don't have a SGI machine and I don't have a, 200 megahertz Pentium. I mean, understand what it means to make games and gameplay and study the great games, study chess, study checkers, understand why there's as much technology in Street Fighter 2 as there is chess in Street Fighter 2. And those are the things I think that the game business really needs, is people who understand gameplay. So I would say that learn what game making is, make sure you really want to make games, and then just find a way to get in and keep pushing, and don't let anyone discourage you, because it's certainly doable. Hell, as they say, if I did it, anybody can do it. So. And those are the things I think that the game business really needs, is people who understand gameplay. So I would say that learn what game making is, make sure you really want to make games, and then just find a way. They have the charismatic grifters that make the videos that for whatever reason people respond to.
The reason is, your ass ain't worth a shit no more.
You better fucking back off, man.
What the fuck happened to you, man? Your ass used to be beautiful. Pools of shimmering cold, and I can be all you ask of me. Music in spring, flowers for a king, all these I bring to you.